Hey traders, this is MsPutOptions, and today I'm going to go over briefly why I like to do the Iron Condor. So we're going to start off with, we're looking at the week of June. And as you can see here, if we entered the first trade, if we entered on June 1st and we exit on June the 5th, price line closed at 1178.16. So basically, in a nutshell, this would have been our strike prices for our Iron Condor. We have an 1170, one that we sold, and two that we bought, a call and a put for 1165, and then another one that we sold, a put for 1160. So in a nutshell, price line has to close either above 1170 or below 1160 in order for us to profit. So initially we're going to have a debit. This trade starts off as a debit, but to close the trade out is going to be a credit, and we will close it down for $5. And where do we get the $5 from? The $5 is the difference between our strike prices. So if we take a debit of $4.45 and we subtract it from a credit of $5, that gives us a credit of 55 cents. And let's say hypothetically we're going to ignore these contracts. Let's say hypothetically we had 10 contracts times the 55-cent credit times 100 shares. That would have been $550 for that particular week if we entered on the 1st and we exited on the 5th. Then here we have another trade. The following week we entered on the 6th, we exited on the 12th, and price line closed at 1174.17. It had to be higher than our 1170 strike price and lower than our 1160 strike price, which it did. We had a debit once again for $4.45, and if we subtract $5 from that, that would have gave us a credit of 55 cents. So once again, that would have been another $550 for the second week if our strike prices were 1170, 1165, and 1160. If price line closed above 1170 and below 1160, we would have profit, and as you can see, it did. It closed at 1174.17. The third week, once again, we entered on the 15th and we exited on the 17th. Price line closed at, and I'm sorry, I have one too many dots here. Price line closed at 1158.46. Our strike prices would have been 1180, 1175, and 1170. It would have been a debit of $4.80. We would have sold it for $5. So the difference between $4.80 and $5 would have been a 20-cent credit. If you had 10 contracts times 100 shares, that would have been $200. Now on the last week, we could not have placed a trade because we have a debit of $5.05, and we know the difference between our strike prices is 5. So we couldn't have profit on the fourth week because our debit is not big enough. So our debit needs to be smaller than our credit in order for us to receive a credit. So the fourth week, we probably could not have placed a trade, or maybe we could have waited later on in the day to place this particular trade. But we could not have been profitable on this particular trade because our debit was not small enough in order for us to get out of the trade with a credit. So I'm just sharing with you how I go about doing the Iron Condors and how it can be very, very successful at placing Iron Condor trades. Again, this is MsPutOptions, and I will see you soon.